All right, happy Saturday, y'all. This is gonna be short, quick, to the point. We are in like I'd say the crunch time for Georgia. We have a dyno appointment Monday morning at TKM Performance with the Red Lobster. The Black Sheep is just about buttoned up. We're going to get that 100% complete today and ready to go in the trailer. The Red Lobster ran into some issues last night. We got ready to fire it up, and first thing we do is we prime it. Fuel system, oil system. Went to prime it, had some major issues. So let's just talk about this guy, what we did. From the time that you guys saw it, when we first had the car, when I did the video talking about, oh, the small block Ford is better than the LS, this is the Red Lobster. Still small block Ford powered, completely different motor. Went from a Dart iron block with some, where are they? C3 heads, right there, the C3 heads. They are for sale if you guys are interested in the heads. To a Speedmaster block with Brodix Neal heads, same port but different port locations. So that made us change everything up. So we had to redo the turbo kit not once but twice. Switch turbo over from a Precision 88 to a Force Inductions 88, and then everything else from there kind of stayed the same as far as hard parts go. We got rid of the dry sump system and went to an external wet sump with a pan from Williams Fab, which looks great. Matt did some additional fab on that, kind of cutting out some things so everything would fit. We relocated the fuel system. We relocated the oil filter. We switched, like I said, we had fuel pump on this side, oil pump on that side. Now we have the oil pump on that side, driving the fuel pump as well. Changed the tank location from right here, like encapsulated by all of this hot exhaust, to over here on the left side where it's only really near the exhaust on one side, which has some heat shielding. Much better location. And then we did all of the lines. We redid them with Brown & Miller, Armorade or Amorade or whatever you guys want to call it, the Aramid, whatever it is. I don't know. It's their badass, super high temp PTFE style line. These are like the baddest lines you guys can get. We have a crimper here in-house. A couple people have asked me about it. The crimper comes from Brown & Miller as well. It is not cheap by any means, but it gives you the ability to make these awesome crimp style lines. And we have like some really unique fittings on here. Like, I mean, I consider them unique because like if you're just getting Vibrant stuff, they're gonna be tough to find. Not talking smack on Vibrant or anything, or if you're using Red Horse, or if you're getting Amazon line. Like that one right there on the oil pump is like a port fitting. We have one that's a port fitting 10 to a 12 line. I mean, there's some stuff that is just a little bit more unique and helps you cut down on the number of fittings, but also like the quality of line. Like this, you do this once, it's good for a lifetime. We changed how the fuel system runs. Before it was wiring to it, and we don't run any fuel systems wide. It just makes way too many fuel lines and just looks clustered and all of that stuff. I should remove this so like you can see how much cleaner it looks. I wish I had like a before and after picture of how cluttered it looked before, and we aren't really done zip tying everything, but it looks just so much cleaner and like so much more appealing if you just look at it, where there's not like, there was literally shit everywhere. There was no room. You couldn't work on this thing at all. Now you got some room to actually get some stuff done. So TKM Performance built the motor. It's a 427-inch Speedmaster block, billet crank aluminum rods, diamond pistons with these heads on there, top fuel hoop. You guys know the deal. This one's been assembled by TKM. They did a great job on it. Sammy and the guys up there absolutely killed it, and we're excited. We're hopefully seeing Kevin on Monday just to shake it down on the dyno, make sure we don't have any issues or anything like that. So we got to this point. Got all the CO2 lines run, got the harness plugged up, and like the harness is not really nice. It's a factory harness that's just, it's not nice. We redid a couple things. They had the coil grounds all going to one head. You got to make your coil grounds go to your respective head that they're on. That's very important. So we had to redo that. We shortened up one sensor that was like literally had 10 feet extra. I don't know why, but it just did. And we're gonna have to at some point probably just make a whole new harness for it, because as you guys can see, it is just a cluster back there. There's just shit everywhere. So we got ready to fire it up. We filled it up with our Schaefer's oil. We put some methanol in there, and we go to prime the pump. So what we do is we just have a drill that we hold up here, and we will spin the pump, and that will prime the oil system. The fuel pump is then driven off the back, so you're priming both of them. Ideally, we like to put the regulator on the fuel tank, and what we can do then is crack the line to it. So now, like, if you crack this, or you have to take it out of the rail, if you prime it without the regulator on there, you don't have to overcome the spring pressure of the regulator, which is very nice. So you can just literally get it flowing, you know everything's full, put the regulator back on, and go to party time. So in this one, we're going to have to kind of fight that a little bit, but no big deal. That's fine. But we went to prime it, and something just wasn't right. We were turning it and turning it and turning it, and then, like, as we turn it, it stopped, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. The belt is like, the drill's not spinning it. It was just spinning it. So we did it by hand, spun it back, spun it forward, and then it just kind of like got tight and stopped. And we're like, what the heck is that about? And then, like, really cranked down it. You could barely get it to turn. So we're like, I think something's wrong. So Matt went down there and undid the fuel pump from the oil pump. Spins fine. Go over here. This is what we had. I have a few different pumps. I got 2 Aeromotive black, I think they're like 13 gallon a minute fuel pumps. This is also our workbench, the back of the Pro Mod. Very nice. If you look and see on this, right here, there is a little pinhole. And in that pinhole is like one long needle bearing that goes all the way to the bottom. And it kind of locks in this like brass, I don't know which one to call it, liner. And when we pulled it off the first time, that pin was laying in the bottom of the pump. Now, this is a brand new pump. I bought it off ATEC, aka Summit Racing, from Aeromotive. Literally pulled it out of the box, and it was not happy. And I think what it did was it pushed this whole like bottom casing up. This is the top part that will then ride here. It is centered on the top part of the fuel pump and has that pin, so it allows it to not spin. I think when it pushed up, something's not happy, where when you put it back together now, it's like it's warped. So we don't know what our strategy is. This one here, obviously we could swap it, but this one's used. That one is brand new. So it's kind of one of those deals where brand new build, brand new motor. I'd like to use a brand new fuel pump. It did have a Rage dual spur gear pump on there, but it didn't fit. The oil pan on this and everything is, there's just like no room. The motor plate's slightly tweaked, so we have to like be very cautious of how we space everything to make sure our alignment's perfect. We did get it perfect, but we don't have any room in and we don't have any room out in the actual physical footprint of a dual spur gear pump, opposed to, I think this is like considered like a rotor style pump, is a dual spur gear is like twice the width. So it's pretty wide. Here, I'll go over here and show you guys. I have a little fuel pump farm I've been working on. Don't mind my jumper cables over here. Got a new battery for the sheep as well. We've been really getting a lot of stuff. I mean, look at the size of this. That is one hell of a fuel pump. Oh, and there's the Rage right there. Literally same physical footprint. So they're quite healthy in size. So we can't put that one on there. I know what you guys are saying. You're like, oh, well, it was on the car before. Why didn't you just put it back on there? Well, you change one thing, nothing else fits. That's just how it goes. So we're ready to fire it up. We're ready to prime it. It's looking like the old used fuel pump is going to get called into action here. And once we get that on, we have like a few little things to do to get this ready. We have to change the way the trans brake is wired, because it's wired incorrectly right now, which oddly enough has no legitimate bump box, but you can bump it. It's very weird. It's literally just turning the trans brake on and off, like not fast enough as it should, so it bumps very aggressively. And then we have to do like a couple little things, like change the hardware in the steering rack, because the hardware in the steering rack, it doesn't have any set screws or anything. Sorry, not set screws, lock washers or anything like that. It's just like a button head Allen, and they keep coming loose, which is terrifying because you don't want that to happen. I remember when Kevin Mullins was driving this, he was like, hey man, the steering just feels funny. I was like, oh yeah, it always feels funny. And then I went over there, looked, and like the rack was like about off the car, and I was like, holy shit, like, you know, different car. I'm not really used to like looking at stuff like that, like the sheep. I've never had the steering rack come loose. So, you know, it is so important to go over and nut and bolt all these cars and look at everything like that. But yeah, this is something really has got to pay attention to, a lot of things. So yeah, I mean, we're on like the home stretch. I think like one of these tires might have a little gouge in it where we're gonna have to swap tires, which is not the end of the world. I got a new set of Radial Pros which we'll put on the car, because these do have some life and some wear on them. The last time we were at the track, the belly pan got ripped off the car and got caught by the tire, so we need to get a belly pan for this guy, or an engine diaper, or both, because we are going to be testing the limits of the Speedmaster block. So I mean, it's kind of one of those things where it might go 390s, it might go 490s and not like it. You don't know. We are being the guinea pigs, and the catastrophic failure of a motor kind of worries me. Not so much of the motor blowing up. The motor blows up, but the collateral damage that it could cause. You break the block and it goes oil everywhere, and you get oil on the tires, and you wreck the car. And now you have a really nice car that got wrecked by this Speedmaster block. So it's just kind of one of those deals where you got to keep an eye on it and make sure you do everything right. We took a lot of time to make sure everything is done right, done correctly, and Matt's been a huge help, obviously, getting this stuff really knocked out and getting it done the right way. And now we just got to get fired up. So I'm going to edit this video and get it out to you guys, and then get to work on this. I mean, that's really all there is to do. So you guys know like the complete rundown of that car. That's everything that's been going on. Modified like the tank and moved the tank location, made new brackets for the tank. Like a bunch of that last 10% is extremely time consuming, and that's what we've been really focusing on. I mean, just to plug that harness up, because that harness is so like janky, it took us like an hour to correctly plug the harness up. So stuff like that, it's a lot, and you got to do it right. So I feel like we're on the home stretch. Hopefully, fingers crossed, everything goes smooth from here. Fired up, no leaks, no issues. Matt's going to work on the tune-up and get the two-post tune-up dialed in. And then from there, we'll be ready to head to the dyno, smooth on the dyno, and head to the track. That's like the ultimate goal. So if we can do that, I'll be pretty happy. So thank you guys so much for watching. Like always, comment, like, subscribe. We'll see you guys hopefully at the dyno and down in Georgia here soon.